And we're rolling. Let's do this.
All right, let's get it started here. Welcome. My name is Tyler. This is Pete. Say hi, Pete.
Hey, what's up? This is Pete.
You were supposed to say hi, Pete.
Hi, Pete.
That's like the joke. There you go. All
you
right, so we are bringing to you an unnamed podcast here. We are playing a game with you. We're going to call this game The Ranking. And the idea behind this game is that we are going to take some pool of something, and we are going to rank them in order from the least to the worst, taking turns. Sorry, there's more than one turn, obviously, in this game. Unless there were only two things we were ranking, like apples and oranges, and I go first and say oranges, and then you would have to do apples afterwards. So the whole point of this game is that, normally when you're ranking something in your own head, it's just you versus yourself. But now it's me and Pete versus each other. And so if I choose, say we're ranking the best presidents of all time, and I say George Washington is absolutely the worst president because I'm the one that's going first, then that just throws out Pete's whole entire list because he had George Washington up there in the top 5. So this is going to make this game a little bit more interesting. We've got all our nice laid notes out here that are just going to get ripped to shreds because Pete has incredibly bad taste. And so as we're going through this, you're going to see us trying to scramble here, figuring out what the heck is going on and what our next move would be. And you're going to hear anger in our voices when some of our favorites are taking out. So that's going to be the fun of this game. And we'll do some longer ones sometimes. We've got a really epic one that we did ourselves testing this out over Marvel movies in the MCU. So maybe we'll record that one live for you guys later on. That was
pretty fun.
Yeah. But this one, we're going to go a little shorter. We're going to rank Star Wars movies. Everybody has their opinions on Star Wars movies. I know how Pete feels about the newer ones. I'm sure that will come out in his list.
Yeah.
And so that's what makes this game great, because even though he might have all three of those at the bottom, I might throw a wrench in there and come out with number 12 here and put Empire Strikes Back at the end. And then he's just like burning the whole house down here because he's so angered of my choices and has to rethink. And so something he had ranked low might end up actually a little bit higher. Yeah. So that's the game here. We're going to go one at a time. Anything else I'm forgetting on the rules here that you want to add?
So we need to start with we're going to start with the least and then move to the best one. So we're going to start at the bottom each time.
All right. We're going to, go ahead.
Oh, no, it's just, we just have to make sure that we take turns. And the biggest thing is it's kind of like a mind game. So the goal isn't just to just make the list, but you have to give reasonings as to why you think that as well. And that part of that debate is what makes it really fun.
Yeah, so you can't just say I'm putting the Star Wars Holiday Special at number 1 because it's the best. You have to give reasons why you're ranking that. Oh, and by the way, we are not including that movie in this list. So we are going to do 12 Star Wars movies, or I should say Star Wars properties, because we've thrown one little wrench into our list here because we wanted a nice even 12. We are going to include season 1 of The Mandalorian. So obviously right now we're recording this, season 2 has not come out. So if you're late to the game after we've become immensely popular and you're listening to this and you've already seen season 2, that is not in this listing here. But we are including season 1. Because it is very cinematic in the way that it's presented anyway. And so we felt that it was definitely deserving of being included in this list. Yeah. The other ones we are including are the 9 episodes from 1 to 9, or if you watched them when they came out, from 4 to
4 to 6,
1 to 3,
1 to 3,
7 to 9. And 7 to 9. Yeah. So, and then we are also including Solo and Rogue One. Yeah. Yep. So those are the movies we are including in this list. I'm sorry if you're a fan of the Ewok movies. They are not included here, and neither is the Star Wars Holiday Special.
I mean, it's not fair because that would be the top 3, so that's why we had to get them out, because it's unanimously everyone's top 3.
Yeah, you can already see why he has bad taste. Okay. All right, so I have volunteered myself for tribute to go number 12 on this list. and give the first one here. So I'm going to get this started. Are you ready to get started, Pete?
I don't know. I'm just really nervous about what your number 12 pick is, because you're already throwing out the Empire Strikes Back. I have an idea.
Do you have a favorite that's kind of a low one on the totem pole that you know other people don't like, that you're worried, don't give it away, but that you're worried I might get rid of earlier than you want to?
I don't think so. I mean, it's the ones I love, I feel like I love very equally, and the ones that I hate, I capital HATE very equally. So it's gonna be hard to choose. It's gonna be interesting where it ends up at.
I have one. It's still very low on my list, but I know a lot of people put it at the bottom, and I don't have it at the bottom, so I'm a little worried you might get rid of it earlier than I have it going, but it still wouldn't be too big of an upset. All right, so let's get started. My number 12 is probably not a huge shock. Maybe some people have some that they hate a little bit more. My number 12 is Attack of the Clones.
Okay. Oh, really?
So Attack of the Clones. The prequels, don't get much love anyway.
They don't.
And so of those prequels, I think most people have a unanimous best one of the three prequels. We won't spoil anything with that because maybe we disagree on that. But the other two prequels are pretty much universally agreed that they're just not that great of movies. But I feel like Attack of the Clones just really doesn't do anything for me. Like it's a middle movie in a series that set up the first trilogy, that the middle movie was awesome and spectacular. Yeah. And this middle movie didn't do anything to make you more excited for anything else coming. In fact, the only thing that it did make you for the third episode, the only reason it made you excited for the third episode is because you were just hoping that the third episode wouldn't be as bad as the first two. Like, oh my gosh, can they hopefully redeem this in the final of this trilogy here? Attack of the Clones, I think they really overused the CGI. That was a big thing with all the prequels. It felt like it was just very CGI heavy, CGI reliant. And maybe people that started with the prequels and hadn't seen the originals, like the little kids and things, they got used to that. But we were used to, there not being a lot of CGI in the original three, and then it just seemed so glaring in the way that he just kind of overused it.
Well, it was more compositions, or composite, I mean. The first one had matte paintings, literally matte paintings. And then they had they composited two images layering on top of each other like you would like a Photoshop document. They just did that live with real footage on film, which was absolutely incredible. But because everything was real, even though some of that stuff was miniatures, it still looked real because those items actually did exist in real space, just on a different film. Before they were composited. So
exactly. And so the CGI in Attack of the Clones and all the prequels was just kind of glaring. And even now when you watch like his additions to the original trilogy, they kind of are glaring.
I was going to ask you about that
too. Yeah.
Are we including which on the original trilogy, are we doing the actual original trilogy, or are we doing the remakes with the new CGI? Do you think it makes that big of a difference? Would it change it that much? I think it does in a few instances. I'll give you two instances. One is the Sarlacc pit, right, where Boba Fett gets eaten and dies. Spoilers. Sorry if you still haven't seen that.
Yeah, we should have started that for this whole thing. Spoilers if you have never watched a single Star Wars movie in your life. That we're gonna give them all away here. So except for the Star Wars Holiday Special, that one is still going to be clean for you and the Ewok movies. But the rest
which is odd because there's probably lots of people, if they end up watching this, probably still have not actually seen that one. So,
I would think that people, though, that have not seen any of the 12 movies we are talking about would not be watching this podcast. But if you somehow stumbled onto this, please, by all means, watch anyway. But spoiler alert. definitely.
Yeah. I mean, if you haven't seen them yet, I don't think you're gonna be worried by spoilers. It's you had to have done it on purpose to not watch these movies at this point.
Yeah. I won't give away who Luke Skywalker's father is, though.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Actually, no.
All right. So the Sarlacc pit was I feel like a major addition to that one. And the other thing that I was going to say is in the first one, they altered the Han shot first. So if you are very sensitive to the Han shot first movement, then the remakes it definitely matters. Oh, also,
but
in the last,
hold on, does that change your opinion of where you would rank the movie, whether or not Han shot first there? I mean, I guess you might be ranking the movie high because it sets up these characters, and by Han not shooting first, it changes his character a little. So I guess I could see that, but I wouldn't think it would make that big of a difference.
How about this? We're gonna go originals. The original VHS. The original theatrical release.
It's our opinion of these movies and how we see them in our own head. So I think we base it off of how we've seen the movie, how we picture it in our own heads.
Gotcha.
That way we're not grasping with, wait a second, do I need to read which version am I remembering right now? Wait, when did he add that in? Was that original? So just it's our opinion. That's where we're putting these movies. Okay. So we'll pull all of our resources that are floating around in our brain together.
All right, we'll discuss that if we get to that point. That puts a like a little sour taste in our mouth, and that's where we put it. We'll just bring it up then.
Well, and that's the beauty of this game is you are definitely going to agree with me on some things and disagree with me on others. And so if I put the original Star Wars at number 1 because I just love the way that Greedo shot first at Han, and you're like, no, that's not right at all. Then
gotcha.
That's part of the disagreement here, right?
Okay.
All right. So let me continue bashing Attack of the Clones. I feel like that's what I'm doing because I ranked it the worst. I'm sorry, Attack of the Clones. I didn't mean to hurt your feelings.
I actually liked that one. I really did. I liked Attack of the Clones. That was when that one first came out. It was kind of like it kind of blew my mind. When I first saw it, I feel like that may be more of a nostalgia thing than anything. But yeah,
you're clearly blinded by nostalgia, and you're wrong, and you're stupid. So let me tell you why. So Attack of the Clones overuses the CGI. That whole battle scene where they're in like the gladiator pit, which is obviously very cliche. With all the Jedi finally coming together, this is the first time where we've seen this many Jedi come together.
That was amazing.
And be able to use their powers. And it was just a big CGI mess of them fighting some random animals there. Like it could have been so much more. And there was so much comic relief thrown into the middle of that with C-3PO getting his head switched around. And it just, that could have been such a cool, badass moment.
You didn't like how it didn't take itself seriously at that point?
Well, that moment right there should have been an iconic, very serious moment with seeing all these Jedi being badass for the very first time. If they want to make that comic relief, do that when they do it for the second time. But the first time we've ever seen something that should be super spectacular, I don't really want to see C-3PO fumbling around trying to find his head and some big giant CGI monster with horns romping around.
Yeah,
I want to see badass battles with Jedi, and the fact that like Jango Fett could have been a really cool character that they introduced, and boom, he just gets his whatever chopped off. I don't remember what he gets chopped off. He gets something chopped off by Mace Windu.
It's his head,
and
it's his whole head.
Okay. Yeah, that's right, because Boba picks it up later on, which is very touching.
Which is kind of disturbing, actually, picking up a freaking severed head.
Yeah, and again, I mean. Some of the problems with the originals is it depends what perspective you look at it and maybe what age you saw him first, because he very much was trying to make them more kid friendly, and so you get a Boba picking up a severed head, not as dark in that movie as maybe it should have been. So the CGI is a big problem with me. Some of those moments that could have been really badass and iconic, I feel like they didn't do justice enough. And then it's the whole love angle in that second movie. So we spend the whole first movie with a 10-year-old boy who we know already is going to end up with anger issues. And this, however old she was supposed to be in that first movie, I think 14 or something year old princess. And then suddenly we get to the next movie and this 10-year-old boy is grown up, but still we remember him as that 10-year-old boy. And now he's macking on this lady. Suddenly it just gets a little awkward there.
Yeah. Yeah. The romance really kind of screws everything up there. And he is very awkward. I don't know if he's supposed to be that awkward, but man, that was one of those things. His performance there, I mean, Jake Lloyd gets a lot of flack for his performance, but I mean, he was a 10-year-old kid. Hayden Christensen should have had a better performance than the 10-year-old kid, and I don't know if he really did. Maybe at most they're equal. He just, some of the choices and the things he said and the dialogue is so cheesy. Is this where we get the sand comment? I think this is where we get at least it gave us tons of memes about how much Anakin hates sand, but really for the first time it's pretty cheesy. Yeah. And even Natalie Portman just gives a really kind of a flat performance,
strange performance there. And we know she's capable of being a good actress.
Yeah, so she's an amazing actress.
Yeah, so definitely that is a reason that I would rank that whole romance angle kind of puts it lower than some of the others. Nothing else in any of the other movies was as bad as that, the way that they fleshed that out in that angle there. Let me take a look at some of my other notes. Yeah, so that was the origin of the I don't like sand, which sure it gave us great memes, but very cheesy at the time that it was there. Overall, just Hayden Christensen's performance. I felt like he did a better job in the third movie, but the second movie left much to be desired. And just overall, most of the movie is just pretty forgettable. I remember the big battle with the Jedi, but like I said, I think that could have been better. And I'll give it props. The one part that I do remember walking out of that movie, and maybe this is why some people have the movie ranked higher, because you walked out of that movie after Yoda just kicked absolute butt, thinking, "Oh my gosh, cool. That was awesome!"
That was
because
amazing.
You finally get to see Yoda just open up a big old can of whoop ass and do all kinds of Jedi somersaults and fly around. And that one was pretty cool. So, all right. So that's my reasoning for number 12, Attack of the Clones. You are now in charge of coming up with number 11. So it's up to you.
Did you brought up a whole bag of worms of emotions on that entire that trilogy right there? And while I want to pick another one from that trilogy, and I may do it next time, I'm going with one of the other trilogies, and I'm doing this. This next one is. See, I almost don't want to say it because I don't want it to come to fruition real quick, but I'm just going to say it. I'm just going to go with it. I'm going to go with The Force Awakens. And I don't know if you'd probably have it this low, like at all. And I've gone back and I've tried watching it probably about 3 or 4 more times, and it does grow on me. I think the acting is absolutely amazing. I think, I think they did the characters pretty good in bringing in this new group so that they can, if they wanted to make, more movies with this IP, they can without having to go back and use the old characters. But it was literally a rehash of episodes 4, 5, and 6. I mean, it was pretty much the exact same thing all in one movie. I mean, it had the exact sand origin story of Luke Skywalker with Rey. She found some other dude who was, I guess she ended up being kind of a Han Solo herself. But she was a mix of Luke, and then we had Poe and Finn and everything. Just like they all come together to be pretty much kind of the original cast as they go through and just go through the motions of every single freaking movie. Like just the first 3.
Isn't that a thing that writers actually do. It's called parallels. You know, they intend to parallel other characters, but then later on take them in different directions.
But this is literally the third Death Star. like I'm surprised in episode 8 they didn't we're rebuilding the Death Star. I'm surprised they didn't rebuild the Death Star again in that in that episode 7 to bring it full on it. But I mean, it was.
You could argue they almost did in episode 9 with the fleet of Star Destroyers that were basically planet killers. But we won't get into that one just yet.
Yeah, no, I just
knew you had hate for Force Awakens. I didn't think the hate would be this strong with you.
I mean, to be honest, I was going to go with this other one, but I just felt in my heart that this one was the one that needed to go before the other one. And I'm totally gonna go the next one. If you don't go it, I'm going the next one as well. But this one, I was just when I left that theater, I left the theater disappointed. After I've watched it for about the 5th time, I've come to peace with it to just enjoy it. But the fact that I went in expecting so much from it, and they delivered visually, like when Kylo Ren stopped that lightning bolt for that first time, like my heart exploded out of my chest. It was so amazing. Yeah. But when I left, I was just like, I'm like, I could have just watched the original trilogy and I would have known the exact story.
Yeah. But see, here's what I'm hearing from you is you have one big reason why it's so low, but you also gave several reasons why it's a good movie. So that to me doesn't entitle it to be number 11.
It does.
Maybe you would still have it low. But I mean, you said it had good acting, it had good visuals, it set up those new characters nicely, and those reasons alone were why I had it much higher on my list. I've got 2 pieces of information. I'm not sure which one I should give you. If I give you both, it will spoil a lot of stuff. Let me give you this one. I had Force Awakens ranked number 7 when I ranked all of these myself. I mean, I had a number 7, and here you are taking it out at number 11.
That is part of the game. I mean, it's you kind of have to deal with that, you know. I mean, I wouldn't have put Attack of the Clones as low as you did.
Yeah.
No, I mean, it's just here's my thing: is when I left that theater, completely and utterly devastated that they literally just gave me the same story as the first freaking 3 movies they put out. I can't walk away from that and say that I'm okay with that, you know?
See, and a common theme that I found with all of the new trilogy is that sitting in the theater, for me, I felt like, oh, this is an exciting experience. I'm having a good experience with this movie. And then when I get out of the theater and I hear other people later talking about everything wrong with the movie, and I'm like, oh, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I get it. But sitting there, maybe it's because they're brainwashing us. I don't know. I felt like it was a good movie, and then I get out and I get some of the arguments. But one thing I will give Force Awakens is I feel like it really did a good job of setting up things. Now, whether or not those things actually come to fruition is another story, but I don't know if that's the Force Awakens' fault. That might be some other movie's faults.
That is not. So, I think that is director's fault, and where they wanted to take that movie, and because they didn't connect with that, kind of ruined the last 2.
So my list blames the other movies a little bit more for that. I think your list more blamed this movie. So let's a little.
I'm not blaming the other movies for this movie. Okay. I'm just
you're blaming this movie for the other movies.
No, I'm blaming this movie for this movie. Okay. It is independent from the other ones. All right, you're up.
Okay, so I'm going to go number 10 now. This was 11 on my list, but since you threw a wrench in my whole plans here, I'm going to go with Solo. Solo is the next movie on my list.
What?
I had this at number 11 on my list. It's a movie that's just kind of there. It wouldn't matter to me at all if this movie did not exist. It wouldn't leave any holes in my viewing plans. It would not change anything for me at all if this movie was never made and did not exist. It's just kind of a very forgettable movie. It is probably the only Star Wars movie that I have only watched once. I have not watched this movie again since I saw it in the theaters. Not because I hated it or didn't like it. It's just a completely forgettable movie. So I have it as number 11. I call him Han Solo light because he's just kind of the copy of Han Solo and not what
Oh my
I
god.
was hoping for. He's that, that rapscallion with a heart of gold kind of cliche there that really we know Han Solo in the movies that we're familiar with him, it took him a while to gain that heart of gold. He was not the rapscallion with a heart of gold and the first time that we saw him in A New Hope. It took him a while to gain that, and yet here in this movie, it retreads all that. It's like, oh yeah, he was good all along. He just went down the wrong tracks for a little bit.
It takes a while to get that rough skin. It takes a while to get that rough skin. He was young at this point, and then he had an entire thing of adventures after that to give him that rough exterior. But then, this group of people in the original trilogy then kind of peel back those layers to like, hey, this is what he really was like, which is why at the end of A New Hope, he does come back. Because he was that all along. It just took some people to bring him back.
Yeah. But all we have is this movie and then A New Hope. So this movie, he's actually pretty good. And then New Hope, he's a rapscallion again. But then he's good again by the end of that movie. So we only have like half of a movie where he's actually kind of a dirty, no good character. So maybe it's because we're missing a whole bunch in between, but I don't see it.
If we're ranking movies as movies here, okay? Like the reason I put the one that I did at 11 was because as a movie, I thought the storytelling, I did not think it was as good a movie as it could have been, or an original movie. This one was original, and the amount of twists that they have in there was just incredible. Like it was just like back and forth. Like you were just on the edge of your seat at the entire end of that movie of not knowing what's going to happen, what decision was going to be made. And then when he made that decision to pull that trigger, again, he shot first, just saying.
Yeah, but you're ranking movies as movies. I'm ranking Star Wars movies, which is what we were supposed to do. So obviously, I'm already winning here because as a Star Wars movie, this was not a good movie. No, it was not that good of a movie. I have more reasons. Let me go down my reasons here. The story itself just felt kind of small in this whole universe. I felt like it could have been bigger.
It was personal. It was a very personal relationship.
I felt like it was just kind of going through the Han Solo checklist of, okay, we got to show how he met Chewie. Oh, we got to show the Kessel Run. We got to show how he got the Millennium Falcon. It was just a checklist of all these Han Solo things that needed to be hit. It could have focused more on the Han and Chewie relationship because that's what I go into expecting from a Han Solo movie is, hey, I really like these two characters and how they interacted. Maybe it'll focus more on them. And it focused more on his relationship with the female character instead of with Chewie. Let me see what else I got here. I got plenty. I did like Donald Glover as Lando Calrissian. I thought he was charismatic. The robot L3 was funny at times, but she was a little much sometimes.
I thought she's pretty good.
And the whole thing about they put her memory into the Millennium Falcon, even though that hadn't been brought up anywhere in any other movie before.
I agree with you on that one.
Which is kind of weird.
I agree with you on that one.
I just thought Han Solo, it didn't do much for me. It was just kind of a there movie. And not as important as all the other Star Wars movies.
All right. That one stung. All right, so are we on number 9?
Do you need some aloe for that?
I do. I just like a cold pack.
All right.
So let's go.
Number 9 now.
All right, number 9. So my next pick is going to be is actually episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. Now I have another one that I really want to get rid of, but I really have a bone to pick with this one because Like, you know, they set up this big thing for him to become Vader, and I thought they kind of did not do that part justice. I really thought that him turning at the end to save Padme, and then she like gives birth in like 4 seconds, and then he's like, no, like he didn't know this was going to happen. I thought that entire part of it that set up that next, 3 legendary episodes, the original trilogy, just did not do that justice. I mean, I thought like they built up 3 episodes to get to this one monumental point, and then I felt just ruined it. I was just like, I was so disappointed. And when he steps out and goes, no, I was like, no, yeah. You lost me. No,
the cheesy no has been much maligned, but and the birth, I agree with that, was very, very quick and weird.
Yeah. I don't know. It's so lame.
But in the way that I just disappointed you with Solo, you just disappointed me with this one, because I had this ranked much higher. It was my highest of the original trilogy. I'll give that away.
So this was an original trilogy. This is the prequels.
Prequels. The first 3.
I mean, there's a lot of parts.
Yeah.
I mean, the whole part where he just like murders all those children. He's like, I'm here to save you and save lives, and then he murders children. I'm like,
what a very Vader thing to do. What a very Vaderish thing to do.
Yeah, but he has
murder
this, like,
some younglings.
No, but he's doing like a really pathetic internal dialogue with himself to save Padme and all this other junk, and then I'm like, just no. Now I will say that one scene where him and Ewan McGregor, and he's like, I had the high ground, and then he goes, and then he has that emotional, like, you were like a brother to me, like that hit me. I felt Ewan McGregor freaking nailed pretty much all 3 of those movies. I think other people really screwed that up.
That scene and that part, I rank that higher than anything outside of the original trilogy. Like all the other movies outside of the original trilogy, that was the best moment of any of those movies.
It was a very emotional, like, it was like, like when Elsa sacrificed herself, like it's just that sibling,
Yeah. But yeah, I agree. That was a very badass, cool moment. And, I mocked Attack of the Clones for having the sand memes, but I have the high ground memes are far superior.
Oh, no,
and
they are
quite iconic. And so that moment being created by that, I felt like is why that movie I had ranked quite a bit higher.
I did not believe their love story, like, at all.
Mm-hmm.
Like, in both movies, and I think that kind of ruined a lot of it, because it just did not feel natural. It didn't feel right. And those two have to go.
What I'm trying very hard to do is not let other crappier movies ruin what I feel for better movies. And so I don't think that the love story part was really episode 3's fault. It was episode 2's fault. And so that's why I had episode 2 ranked. Now, here's the question that I want to ask you before we move on to the next one. If I had not gotten rid of Attack of the Clones, because you said you wouldn't have had it that low, would you have had it higher than Revenge of the Sith?
I don't know about that, man. I really liked both of them. I actually do like both those movies, which is why it's really hard to kind of push those out. But I think I may still have had Revenge of the Sith above.
Okay. Phew. All right, then I can't completely lose all faith in you. All right.
All right, you're up.
At least we agree there. All right. So I am now going to close out the original trilogy here.
Ooh.
And I'm going to throw Phantom Menace out the window here.
I actually like that movie.
I like Phantom Menace, but if we're going for best movies and best Star Wars movies, I think it has its issues. And so this is a good place for it to go out. I mean, number 8 is actually where I had higher than where I had it in my main rankings. But I'm okay with it getting to number 8 because there are some things that I like. One of them is a redheaded beauty with horns and a cool, badass double lightsaber named Darth Maul.
Dude,
and
he's in the comics and lore. He's so powerful, and then I feel like he just gets taken out like a little punk compared to his comicness.
well, he had that whole mysterious figure going on, which they
That was
actually
pretty
did
cool.
very well. You know, movies and things tend to nowadays really over explain characters and stuff like that, and to have a character in a big franchise like that who you didn't know much about and was very mysterious made him really badass and cool. And there's a reason why kids that watch those movies as kids really enjoy him, and I who watched it as a teenager really enjoyed it because, I mean, one, he's got a
He was awesome.
double-sided lightsaber. He's got the cool red face. I mean, later he appeared in some Insidious movies, and that was nice that he found some work again.
Yeah.
And also, you know, he appeared in the Clone Wars and a cameo at the end of Solo, which we won't get back into the Solo train here, but I mean, he was just an awesome character. And I actually really liked Qui-Gon. I thought he was a good character.
Too.
And so both of them being kind of cut out here in this movie is one reason why I had it ranked a little bit lower. Like, you introduced two really cool characters that we could have followed a bit longer, and boom, they're already done.
Yeah.
And you left us with some other less desirable characters.
Ewan?
And,
yeah,
well, okay, no. I was going to talk all about him and give a big old glowing love story for him when I talked about Revenge of the Sith, but you took that from me. So I shall never forgive you for that.
I did say that.
He was,
I thought it was
so
really
awesome
good.
in Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah.
I think that sent that above at least this bottom half. I had Revenge of the Sith just outside of the bottom half.
Gotcha.
But real quick for Phantom Menace, the good things about it, the battle with Darth Maul at the end, the song, the Duel of the Fates, that song, you talk about, you know, John Williams' original score was just, you know, it's iconic. Yeah. But that song there, that was pretty awesome that he was able to add that in there for the new trilogy. And I thought that was really good. But the CGI, which I had a problem with in Attack of the Clones, it was there in Phantom Menace too.
It was definitely there.
And then there's the Jar Jar of it all. I mean,
I think if you cut him out, I think this movie could be a stand-up. Well, Jar Jar, and then how do you feel about the midichlorians?
Yeah, I mean, we just talked about the whole over-explaining. Movies tend to over-explain things. They didn't do it with Darth Maul, but they did it with the midichlorians. And
he was freaking born. He was Jesus. I'm like, that's not cool.
Yeah. The CGI, the Jar Jar, it being directed more at kids, when the people who grew up on the original trilogy, most of them weren't kids anymore, and so
we're like
they're expecting something more for them, and it's for this new generation that kind of
I think when you go back and you do George Lucas interviews, he does talk about that, actually, about how this one isn't meant for this other generation that started with it. It is actually for this new generation to get them into Star Wars. So it literally was that for him. At least,
and maybe that's part of the reason you have such a problem with Force Awakens, because it was made for the people who watched the original trilogy, being hey, we want to make this just like the original trilogy because you like that, and you're like, no, I want to see something new. So
I do. I mean, I did really appreciate the newness of the original trilogy, and I was definitely okay with the direction that they went. I feel like they told a better trilogy arc than these freaking episodes 7, 8, 9. I mean, 7, 8, 9.
The prequels did.
Oh yeah. If you go along and say, hey, this story arc, does it actually have a real legit story arc? And does it tell an actual beginning, middle, and end? It does, you know?
Yeah, but let's talk the Phantom Menace. You want to talk about story arc. How much did we really need to know about intergalactic trade law? I think it gave us a little bit more than we needed for that. So that's another reason why I had it ranked lower. But I do have love for that movie, so I could see why you would
I
want
like
to love
it.
that.
I enjoyed that movie. I think I'd probably watch out of the original trilogy. I actually watch episode 2 and 1 more than I've done
One
pretty
is
much any of the other
definitely-
ones.
One is definitely a fun rewatch. Two, I don't get what you're talking about there. You must be insane. Okay, let's
Right.
move on to the next one.
Number, what are we on, 7? Is that
I
what
think
we're on?
so. I think we're on number 7.
Okay, so
I've
number
got
7.
the evens, you got the odds. So,
All right, so I'm gonna go. Maybe I don't even know if you're gonna like this one. Man, this is a toss up for me. I want to say Rise of the Skywalker.
Okay.
I mean, I almost don't want to put this one on there because I had a different attitude about this one than I did the first two going in. The first two I had high expectations and they let me down so bad that by the time I got to this third movie, I was like, I don't even care. I'm just going to watch it because it's Star Wars and I have to, by law. And then I get in there and I just have zero expectations. And I think I enjoyed it more because of that. But I cannot let go of the fact where they were just like, you're his granddaughter, you're the emperor's granddaughter, just out of nowhere. And I thought that was the absolute dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life. And I cannot forgive it for that. I mean, there's a lot of cool stuff. Oh yeah. And the force healing, the random force healing. I just feel like everything in there, like, oh, hey, here's this sword, or we have to reboot C-3PO. I think everything was an ex machina to be able to just say, here you go. And it just kind of just throws it in there. And it it's one of my favorite sayings when I don't remember who it was. It was probably one of my favorite YouTube stars, but I don't know which one. I have a couple of them, but he goes, because reasons, there is no reason. It's just because reasons, and without any explanation or anything that matches up. And it didn't, like, they built up everything in the episode 1 or episode 7. They built up more in episode 8, and then they just throw it all out the window, and it doesn't feel like it connects. It was almost like an independent movie compared to the other two movies in story.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you on this one. This is about where I had it. Actually, it might have gone a step earlier on my original list here. I really enjoyed it in theaters. I was watching this movie.
Yeah,
and
it was a fun ride.
Woo! Oh, it was fun.
The pacing was crazy.
And that's what movies should be. But when you go back to it later, and I felt like all three of the new trilogy did this. When you go back to it later, you're like, wait a second.
Yeah.
What are they trying to do here? What are they trying to pull over our eyes? There were a lot of plot holes. That, and I felt like these plot holes would have been explained had J.J. Abrams done all three movies. He would have had a second movie that would have filled this in. But because he's trying to now undo something that somebody else did that was trying to undo what he did, then it just kind of becomes a big jumbled mess.
I mean,
I would have liked to have seen what his whole trilogy would have ended up being. And maybe all three of them would have been better for it because they would have worked and fit more together.
Yeah, I think we need a Snyder cut here. No.
Okay, I would like to see Snyder's version of Star Wars just to laugh at it, but
crap ton of slow-mo. This movie, it was a great ride. Like, just to be honest, it was a very great fast-paced ride that kept you on the edge of your seat the entire time, but it just made no sense as to why anything happened at all. And my PlayStation tag is story is king, story is everything. If you're not gonna service a story, then get out of the way, unless you're making a Sylvester Stallone movie.
Hey now.
All right, number 6.
Rocky had story.
Okay. Yeah, that was like his first movie. He had to. After that, he's like, I'm Stallone, I do what I want.
Well, yeah, Rocky. Once you got Rocky under your belt, you can do whatever you want, right? Yeah. All right, so are we on number 6 now?
Number 6.
We have made it to the top half of our movies. So the 6 that are left, should not feel ashamed when they get taken out because they can at least say they are in the top half of the Star Wars movies.
Yeah.
And this one that I'm going to put here at number 6, I actually had down at number 9
Okay.
at one point. So it's made it a little bit higher up. So this is The Last Jedi. I'm putting at number 6.
Oh, okay. Cool. I'm cool with that.
All right. So The Last Jedi suffers from, especially now after the whole thing is done, the whole trilogy is done, it just feels out of place.
Yep.
It doesn't feel like it should exist in this Star Wars universe. It feels like it branched off and created an alternate reality.
Yeah.
Here. So it just felt out of place, like its own separate timeline and universe. And one thing that I was watching, I was like, hey, this is a good movie. And even I thought, it's maybe not my favorite Star Wars movie, but I could at least say this is a good movie. And then when I come back later and think about it, it's like, wait a second, was it a good movie? Because it felt to me like it was just one big slow speed chase. And I know there's other plot lines, and I'll talk about the other plot lines too. But on that one, it's a big, giant, slow speed chase that really didn't need to exist. Like they could have done the whole Hodo maneuver there right off the bat at the beginning and got away. And it just seemed like it was a real drawn out, slow speed chase. That's one of the storylines. And then one of the other storylines you could have just got rid of, and it would have made no difference in the outcome of that movie at all. And that would be the casino.
Yeah. But it didn't really have any effect on anything. And I don't even feel like, did they even bring back Benicio del Toro and then the next movie? Like, was he even there?
That's a good point. I don't know if Benicio del Toro was there.
If he was, he wasn't even that big.
Call us and tell us if you were there, if you're listening to this right now. I know they brought Rose back, but not very much. They just kind of barely used her in the last one too. So
and she got a lot of hate online, and then they didn't reprise her character, and I'm just like, that was, I don't know, it just felt weird.
And again, this is part of switching directors here. If Rian Johnson would have made the last one, maybe both of those characters would have been in there more.
Yeah, the collaboration of passing the baton, they totally missed the mark on that. Yeah.
Yeah, so I really felt like the whole slow speed chase was like, I was going to say Fury Road on Ritalin, but not really. It was much slower, so maybe Fury Road on Benadryl or something, where it was all just one big thing. The casino didn't make any splash of anything. It didn't matter at all.
It didn't affect anything, is what I felt.
Yeah, and so even if you're left thinking that it's a good movie, was it a good Star Wars movie? Did it really fit with everything else?
I felt like they did Luke Skywalker dirty,
Yeah.
Until the very, very end, when they're like, yeah, he is freaking powerful. Like, he could have done so much. And how they portrayed his character, like, I agree getting rid of him. Because movie wise they need to be, so they can make way for these new actors to tell this new story, because in books and comics you can draw them however you want. You can't do that with a real person. It's just not possible. After a while, even Carrie Fisher's CG wasn't very good, so you really can't take those characters any further than where they are because of the physical limitations of the human body. But when we spent the whole just did him dirty.
First episode of this trilogy wondering, like, where's Luke? Yeah. And all we see is him just standing there holding his hand out at the back end of that movie, the very end. Yeah. You'd think the next movie we were going to get more Luke and get more of what we wanted from Luke, but we didn't.
Yeah. They made him comical, and kind of a slapstick, and I thought that was not the direction they should have taken it.
I can see where maybe he was going with some of those choices, because Luke in that episode is running parallels to Yoda and Obi-Wan, who both went off and kind of just laid low and stayed away from things and became hermits themselves.
But
we spent 3 movies. We spent 3 movies realizing Luke was better than that, or being told to think that Luke was better than that and wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
And then they just did it again. So
Yeah.
it became kind of silly and weird. The whole him drinking the milk out of the
Yeah,
thing.
yeah,
Let's not even
yeah.
talk about that. And talk about weird scenes. That scene with Leia just out there in space and then she kind of floats in.
Yeah.
It's just kind of
They,
weird. So
they didn't have, like, in the comics or in the books, I mean, she practices and develops those powers like legit, and it's fleshed out in the actual books, which are now not canon. So that, I guess it doesn't matter anyways. But they didn't really develop her doing any training. She just could just all of a sudden do it. Which, I mean, maybe they didn't show that she didn't train. But there really wasn't anything to indicate any of that, or then using it again,
maybe they're saving it for a whole nother prequel trilogy that takes place in between the original trilogy and the new trilogy, and it'll just be Luke Skywalker's Jedi Academy and show everybody training.
That'd be cool, man. Dude, if they did that as a show, that would be awesome.
Show how Kylo got the inklings to go to the dark side and how Leia got her powers. Maybe they can make that like an animated series or something.
Yeah,
That'd
like
be
the Clone Wars. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's do
All
number
right,
5.
so that takes number 6. We are in the top 5 now. Congratulations. Top 5.
What do we got?
All right.
We have episodes.
It's all to you.
We have what? 4, 5, and 6.
Should we do a recap for the folks of what is left? The entire original trilogy is left. The Mandalorian, we said, is on the table, so that is still there. And Rogue One is still there. So those are the 5 that are on the table right now.
Okay. See, this is where I don't know where to go. Like, the original trilogy is like a piece of my heart. I don't know how to get rid of that one. Rogue One, I thought, was a masterpiece, and Mandalorian is its own freaking amazing beast. Like, at this point,
once we get to these 5, it's really hard.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think they could all make a number 1 if they wanted to. I think, though, I don't want to do this, but what I'm going to do is get rid of... Man, it's a toss-up between A New Hope and Return of the Jedi. I think, like, A New Hope started everything, but, like, I seriously probably watched Return of the Jedi, like, 50 times. Like, that one is my favorite. I'm just gonna get rid of A New Hope just because of my love for Return of the Jedi, even though everyone may not agree with me, like, at all. Yeah, it's gonna hurt.
Because you're a terrible person.
It's straight up because of nostalgia of me watching it. Have you ever watched something, you return to watch something that you watched a million times as a kid and then realized it all sucked? Well, I haven't gone back and rewatched Return of the Jedi.
But you can still recognize that it's... Yeah, okay.
It just has my love. It has too much. Now, A New Hope is the movie that brought Star Wars to fruition. It was like nothing else would exist without these, and setting up all of those characters, like Obi-Wan dying and everything was so good.
Would you still love Star Wars as much if Return of the Jedi was the first movie? I know that doesn't really make sense to say that because it was the third in a trilogy. But I don't know if Star Wars would be such an iconic thing if we started with Ewoks and we started...
Oh, no.
Now, and I'm not saying I don't like Return of the Jedi. I absolutely love that movie. But this is why I disagree with you putting New Hope out before Return of the Jedi.
Like, when I think of Star Wars, I think of Jedis, and freaking Luke is not a Jedi in this. He is not a Jedi.
True.
He even is not a Jedi. Like, yeah.
If you're ranking the Star Wars movies on lightsaber battles, New Hope is way down there. Yeah,
dude,
so
I mean that
there's
fight.
Not much going on.
There's this internet. There's some dude who reshot that Darth Vader scene with Obi-Wan, and it is probably one of the most incredible things I've seen. Like, it's just so good. Like, if they would have had those type of battles during this time, like, it would have been amazing. But, like, seriously, they were just like, like, Darth Vader's supposed to be...
And then he just vaporizes.
Yeah. Like, Darth Vader's supposed to be the baddest ass person, and then Obi-Wan is supposed to be number 2 in the galaxy, And they just have this, like, really weak fight, I mean, at least, Mark Hamill does some flips in Return of the Jedi, So I'm going to have to say, I'm going to have to get this one out because it gave us so many iconic moments, but it just wasn't there. It doesn't hold up. How about this? It does not hold up compared to all the other movies.
Up. Yeah.
It doesn't. I mean, maybe story wise, but like visually, it's almost painful to watch, man. Visually.
But it's also one of the most iconic movies of all time. So,
I mean, I just eliminated it, so that's. I mean,
yes, you
deal
did.
with it.
Yes, you did.
that's part of this game.
I don't know if I can. I don't know if I can deal with it.
Like we can't move on because I just destroyed your world. Yeah, it's not going to be in the top 2. All 3 people who watch this show over the next 10 years can just put in the comment section all the horrible things about me getting rid of A New Hope. But that's just my opinion. This is just a fun game. It's supposed to be entertaining, and it's just our own opinions, just to kind of see what happens. So,
all right. So
you're not even going to talk about it. You're just going to move on to number 4, aren't you?
I'm just going to move on.
All right, do it.
When we get to another one from the original trilogy, maybe I'll come back up again. All right, I'm going to do you dirty then. You ready?
No.
I'm taking out Rogue One.
Oh, dude, it's so good. That movie's so good. Every single character in there is so unique. It is
a very, very, very good movie. It is a great, well done movie. It is not as fun as the other movies, and I want some fun in my Star Wars. That movie is full of despair. Everyone dies at the end. That is not a fun movie. It is a good, very entertaining movie, but there is not much fun going on there. That movie leaves you depressed at the end. But it is a really good movie. We've got it at number 4 here, so I mean, It's good. I had it at number 5 on my list. But yeah, it's a very well told movie. It's surprising in the fact that it does end with everybody not making it.
Yeah.
But if we're ranking Star Wars movies, it doesn't feel a Star Wars movie. It feels like a war movie. It's a war movie.
I mean, just as a movie in general, I think it's probably one of the better told movies in the entire franchise. I am a person
who does not really care for war movies that much. It's just a well-told story. It's like watching Dunkirk or Saving Private Ryan set in the Star Wars universe. So it definitely makes the top 5 for me, but I put these other things more ahead of it. I'm not saying at all that it's a bad movie. I'm just saying these other things I rank higher above it because I have more fun with those and enjoy those and watch them more.
I really did enjoy it. Like their robot android, whatever, the droid that they have with them. I feel like if R2, if we could actually understand what R2 was saying, I feel like this droid would be that. And I really appreciate that.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I do agree, and I like Alan Tudyk being picked for him was a very good choice for that. All the characters were cast very well. They did a great job with that. And you want to talk, though, about rehashing, like you were talking about with Force Awakens. I have seen this movie, Rogue One, before, and it is called The Magnificent Seven or The Seven Samurai, where a group of individuals come together for one task, and most of them get gunned down or killed at the end. That movie already exists. Yes. Well, in this one, it was all of them, depending on what version of those other movies you've seen. Sometimes some of them make it out
all
at the
movies
end.
do that. All movies do that.
But I mean, as we say goodbye to Rogue One, I do want to say that it has probably one of the best Darth Vader scenes ever. Even though Darth Vader built his iconic status in all these other movies before, like him coming through, that was just scary as heck. Him coming through and trashing everything and everyone. So that was pretty cool. So yeah, it's a really good movie. I love the other 4 that we have on this list more than that. Okay. And you've kind of already given away what you're going to get rid of next. And I really was debating putting this one under Rogue One, but for reasons, as you would say, I put it above.
reason.
All right, so you go ahead. Give us your number 4.
What are we on?
We're on number 4.
I thought I was odds.
You're even. Oh, wait, no. All right, what are we on? I completely
What do we have
lost
left?
my
We have
track.
Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi, and then Mandalorian. We got 3 left.
Oh, that's right. I didn't cross off New Hope on mine. Okay.
All right.
So we're on the top 3 now. We're on the top 3.
I'm gonna have to get rid of Return of the Jedi just because that is it. To be honest, it's so cheesy. Out of all of them, it is a cheesy movie. You know, if it wasn't, if it didn't have some of the cheese in it, and I think it took itself seriously, kind of like Rogue One did, kind of like some of the other ones did. Even Empire Strikes Back took itself more seriously. I think it could have been up there. You know, it did have those Jedi battles. You know, that Hoth battle was in Empire is so good though.
It gave us hints of what was to come in the prequel trilogy, right? Him trying to add a little more cheesiness to things, and it gave us hints of that. But I mean, I told you we'd come back to this later on. If you're ranking. You're saying that about Return of the Jedi. It kind of lives more off of nostalgia than some of the other ones.
Yeah.
Then you should have had New Hope higher than that on your list. I'm just saying.
I didn't.
Because New Hope doesn't have to live off of nostalgia. It's the original
it doesn't.
one.
Yeah. I mean, this one does close out the trilogy. I thought it closed it out really well. You know, like in the end. You know, it's like you're going against this emperor, and he's battling it out. You know, internally with his father, and you know he becomes that Jedi. He becomes that chosen one that Darth Vader wasn't able to, and then in the end, he brings out the chosen one in Darth Vader to finally do the deed that he should have done a long time ago. You know,
and that's why it's made it so far on our list.
Amazing. Too. Yeah. I mean, it's like the other ones I don't feel where, you know, like Revenge of the Sith, in the end, they botched that ending. They completely botched the ending of Rise of Skywalker. Like, that was probably the worst ending ever, which is probably why it's so low on the list, even though, you know, it was a very fast-paced, good ride, and then botched at the end. You know, they ruined that. To me, the entire trilogy is kind of ruined because of that. And I kind of feel that way with the original trilogy. But this one, he ended it right. He ended it right. As cheesy as it was, he did end it right.
Yeah, I mean, if you take out the Ewoks, which, like I said, it's kind of giving you hints of what's to come with the prequels, because those were more in there for the kids. And I absolutely freaking loved Ewoks when I was a little kid. They were awesome and adorable, and now I'm like, oh my gosh, why are these in here?
They're part of the lore, and they didn't ruin it. I mean, some people may think that, but I don't think they ruined it.
But they did add to that cheese, like you're talking about.
Yeah.
Put a little more cheese on the sandwich. But also, this movie gave us the end of Luke's kind of ascension and journey there, and made him into the badass character that we were really hoping to see when we got to this new trilogy, and why so many fans were outraged because they didn't get to see this badass version of Luke that we ended Return of the Jedi with.
You know what I mean? Yeah, everyone says he's so whiny, and then like when he shows up for that first scene, he's just like in that cloak, and he's like, "I'm awesome," you know?
Yeah, he's got a robot hand. He's wearing all black. He's got a cool bowl cut. I mean, he's got everything you could ever want in a movie protagonist, and yet somehow he becomes an old hermit that drinks colored milk out of weird animals that lie on the beach. So yeah, I agree that Return of the Jedi, I actually had it out of the top 3, but because you took out New Hope, obviously it would have moved into my top 3 as well.
Gotcha.
All right, so we are down to the last 2. So the last 2, I'm going to reveal my number 2 pick, which is then going to obviously tell you what my number 1 pick is, and then you will tell me if you agree or disagree. Which Sounds hopefully good. You don't disagree, because I don't see there possibly being another answer besides this. So let's get it out on the table here. Number 2, I'm going Mandalorian.
Okay.
It is a great, fantastic series. I absolutely love it. I was interested in it, but because it is a series, it does suffer from the fact that there's some episodes that are better than others.
Yeah.
There are lulls in it, in the arc, but the overall arc of it is great.
I mean,
I love the character.
It's really good storytelling.
I love the mysteriousness of him, and what he is. This is the way, and all that stuff that's going on there. Freaking Baby Yoda is adorable.
Right. I don't understand how they do that.
And yet cool at the same time.
Yeah,
I mean, just the fact to make something so adorable and cute and yet badass and mysterious and awesome. I feel like I'm using the word badass a lot, but hopefully there's no kids listening.
There's going to be nobody
just
listening.
Just the way that they were able to do that. Yeah, hopefully there's somebody listening. Maybe there's some 90-year-old lady in a retirement home listening to this, and I hope I didn't offend her using that word there. Sorry, old lady. But, yeah, just the way they did that without making it cheesy. We've talked about things being made cheesy in some of these movies.
Yeah.
They were able to make this cute little Baby Yoda and it not be cheesy and make this basically he's a Western character, but it's set in space here, and he's this mysterious character with a helmet and a whole way of life that you can clearly see through every choice that he makes. Yeah, it influences his choices that he makes. So, yeah, I absolutely love the series, but it cannot possibly be number 1 because of what it faces here on our number 1. So,
I mean, I agree with you that Empire Strikes Back should be number 1. I think that is kind of definitive of when you think of Star Wars. I really think that it kind of has a little bit of everything. I mean, The Mandalorian is really good, and I don't think Jon Favreau can go wrong like ever lately. I mean, starting with Iron Man, I mean, it's just been hit after hit.
He did direct the Lion King remake.
That he did?
Yes, he did.
See, that's
we'll just forget about that.
We'll pretend that one didn't happen. I mean, yeah, I think those Disney remakes are going to be hard. I mean, technically, I guess these are Disney remakes. The new Star Wars trilogy, even though they're not Disney original properties. But yeah, this. I mean, yeah, it's really hard because I mean you can go so many different directions with this. You know, and you can go another season and it still be Mandalorian, you know? I mean, I think the test will be once you get to season 3, if season 3 can pull off Mandalorian or not, because that's when usually they kind of screw things up.
Yeah.
And I mean, this could definitely change on our list. I like how we put that it is just season 1. We're not comparing any of the other seasons. It had a lot more.
Yeah, I mean, they might completely ruin it in the next season, but season 1 will still be pretty spectacular.
Yeah. I mean, I really appreciated them toting that line of, the brand of comedy that they had, with the seriousness and the storytelling and the bringing in new characters and everything, and then kind of testing him to see what he's going to do. And I really appreciate that. Like, what is he going to do? What are the people around him going to do? And how's he going to deal with them? And that was consistent throughout the entire series, which does not happen very often. There's only a few series that I can think that really does that well, and they only have 1 season total. They don't go a second season. They have a beginning, middle, and end, and this one I felt had an end to it.
And they were smart limiting the number of episodes. They didn't drag it out too long, like some series tend to do.
Yeah.
Looking at you, Marvel Netflix series.
Yeah. But I mean, it's like what I appreciate is even the secondary characters, you know, that just kind of show up are all memorable, you know, like that one guy. God, what
can't remember now.
I can't remember his name. He's the one that ends up dying at the end, and you just feel so horrible for him because, God, what did he say? See, I can't remember. It's been a long time since I watched it. It's that guy who teaches him to ride that freaking animal or whatever, you know?
Oh yeah, Nick
what does he
Nolte's
always tell him?
character.
What does he tell him? He always has that saying, and it's
Yeah,
brilliant.
I know what you're talking about.
All I can think of is "this is the way," but that's not what he says.
Yeah. No, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Now I feel bad that this is being recorded.
I
that
can't think of it
remember
off the top of my head.
Yeah, but
you
he
just
always
ruined this
said-
whole entire thing that was perfect until now.
We're not Star Wars fans, apparently, not enough. But no, like it's just like that character's so memorable. All like Baby Yoda is so memorable. You know, I mean, just every character that comes in, it's just like it's etched in your mind, and you care about them each time, and you worry about what they're gonna do each time. You know, so I just think,
you say every character, but because it is a series, there are episodes you probably are remembering less. There are some episodes where there are characters that aren't very memorable, but the ones that are good are what stands out, and that's why it's ranked so high. But also, that's also why it probably is not number one, because there are some things in there that maybe aren't perfect. And so our number one, I think we both agree,
is Empire Strikes Back.
Did you have Empire as your number one, even before all the changes that we've made? Yeah. Because I had it number one from the beginning. My original top five was Empire, New Hope, Mandalorian, Return of the Jedi, and Rogue One were my top five. So besides the New Hope shakeup, it pretty much fell out the way that we have it here. But Empire is just, I mean, very rarely do you get a sequel that tops the original, and I think Empire kind of started that, being one of the first ever to be able to achieve that. I mean, when the original Star Wars, you look at that and you're like, oh my gosh, this is awesome. How could they ever be more awesome than that?
Yeah.
And then you put substance and surprise and shock and real things into this complete fantasy world in number two, and it just
I just
makes
felt
it
two was
something
so
special.
It was so big right off the bat. I mean, like immediately, you know, the whole Hoth scene. I was trying to say something earlier about that, where it's just like it goes big, and then it ends big too. You know, like you know when the big reveal of, you know, like Luke.
Spoilers.
He doesn't say Luke. He actually says no.
Yes.
I am your father.
No, I am.
And like even the characters, like the actors didn't even know what he was going to say. They actually filmed him saying something completely different, and they only told like Luke or something like that, or Mark Hamill, and he's like, you're going to have to do this big reaction or whatever, as if you were, you know, getting this line. And then they dubbed over James Earl Jones's voice later with the actual real line and everything, and no one knew. But like
it was such a raw emotional moment, and Mark Hamill did it so well. They were just sitting there clutching that and screaming, and and the whole movie plus the movie before it kind of built to that moment, and they did it so well. And every movie that's come out since then has tried to imitate something like that and try to get something like that.
They just
been able to come close.
You just can't. Yeah. I mean, it's just like, you know, like they built up like this whole thing of, you know, like he is the bad guy because he did your father wrong, and you have to go and destroy this person. And then when you find out who he is, that internal conflict then begins, which then sets up the entire third movie, or the third act of that, where he comes and is trying to save his father, you know?
Yeah. Here's a question for me. Did you know, because obviously both of us, I believe, were born after this movie came out. I think it came out, 81? Maybe sooner.
I was born in 85,
somewhere
so...
there. I think it came out before both of us were born. So, and obviously, even if we were 1-year-olds, we wouldn't have been able to watch this and know what was going on. So, did you know that Darth Vader was Luke's father before you saw this movie?
I did not. Did you? I didn't.
No, I don't think so.
Okay,
I remember
so
watching these movies in one of my friends' basements, and I think I figured it out there. But my brother had all the Star Wars action figures and everything.
Oh, yeah.
He had these big Darth Vader helmets. So I don't know how I didn't know before, but I'm pretty sure I was pretty surprised about it when I figured it out and when it happened. But that's the thing, like, if you can avoid telling your children that Darth Vader is Luke Skywalker's father, you are a better person for it, because then they will discover it through these movies,
right?
And it will be just such a mind blow.
It really depends, though. If you watch the original trilogy, it ruins that for you.
Yeah.
So you have to watch them.
You have to watch them.
You have to watch them in the chronological order of when they were made, instead of the actual order of 1 through 3, because then that part doesn't hit as hard unless you watch them first.
So here's the question: if these movies had come out in order from 1 to 9, is Episode 5 still our number 1 movie? Does that change everything?
I think.
It's not as surprising and iconic.
It is not,
but it still has everything that makes a good movie a good movie.
Yeah. I mean, the action sequences are absolutely amazing. I think the storytelling is absolutely amazing. I think
it still has all the stakes.
Actor. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, the whole, like, when they put Han Solo in there. Oh man, one of my favorite lines of his is, "I know." You know, she's like, "I love you," and he goes, "I know." And that wasn't written for him. And he told them, he goes, "That's not what Han Solo would say." And he goes, "What do you think he would say?" And he goes, "He would just say, 'I know.'" And he let him roll with it, and that's what they shot. And that's it. Then they did the lines as normal, but they kept it in there because they were like, "Yeah, that's totally Han Solo."
Exactly, and that's why I had Solo ranked so low, because that totally wasn't Han Solo. But yeah, you're absolutely right. Like, it was just perfect. It's like they knew these characters and what these characters should be in this movie. And this movie is what's formed what we think of these characters too, and why maybe some of these later movies it's so hard to see that these characters aren't like what they were in this movie.
Yeah, I agree with that. I agree with that wholeheartedly. This one really shaped my idea of what Star Wars is. Like, if you go back and you say, which one of these movies is Star Wars, this one does have lightsaber battles. This one does have Force users. This one does have, space battles. This one does have land battles. Like, all the other movies, go back and it's like, oh, they have this in it. Well, it's like this movie had all of those things in it, and they did it really well. Even though with, the limitations of the battles may not be the coolest battles ever, it's not Yoda jumping around on that freaking, just all crazy like the Episode 2, but, they do have it all, Well,
and that darkened room with their lightsabers. And I know, we talked about early in this some of the touch-ups that he did. And I believe he went and added a little more color to the lightsabers.
Oh, okay.
In this, but that's a welcome one. And I think, is this the movie where he adds Jabba the Hutt in, because originally it was just some fat guy walking around Han Solo?
I think they redid that. Yeah, they completely cut that. I think that was in this one. Are you sure it was this one? It wasn't the first one?
I thought it was this one. It might be the first one. But my point on this is, I feel like even the touch-ups that he made to this movie actually benefited and didn't take away from things.
Gotcha.
In this one. So I don't, even if we had that rule like we were trying to establish at the beginning, I don't think that changes anything for Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Whichever version of it you watch, it still holds up as the best one. When we said we were going to do the Star Wars movies and rank them, I'm like, okay, Empire's number 1. Where do I go from there?
Yeah.
Is that kind of what you were thinking too?
I mean, it's hard.
There are people that exist that would have New Hope and Revenge of the Jedi as number 1. So obviously
Return
not
of the
both
Jedi?
because you can't have Return of the Jedi. Sorry, it was originally going to be called Revenge of the Jedi. Trivia fact for you. But I think most people are going to agree that Empire would probably be the best.
Yeah, I think so too, and I think it's merited.
There might be some hipsters that try to say it's overrated, but how can you be overrated when you are the best? So,
I mean, it is what it is. This is just our opinions too. It's just a fun little game, and if you enjoyed it, and if you do stumble upon this, it'd be one of those things where you can put your own list on the bottom. in the comment section down below if we even get this video to work and it's not just straight audio. You didn't see me point my fingers at that point, but if we do
We'll
end
put
up,
an arrow or something pointing below
Yeah,
there. We'll
but,
figure that out.
I think it'd be fun in the comments to kind of put your own. Just be kind to each other. Again, these are all just opinions, and
Yes.
and it's just a fun little game.
You can be awful to Peter because he made horrible choices, but everyone else, please be kind to. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what you were thinking on some of those, but that's okay. Obviously, all my picks were perfect.
Yeah, no, I mean you're always perfect in all this stuff. But again, that is just your opinion, so I'll
Yes.
give that one to you.
No, and every argument you made against my choices, I could see where you were coming with from that. So I'll give you that, even though you
All right.
obviously love the movie Solo.
Well,
I don't know who else does.
well, I think at this point we're
So
pretty done.
next time we'll do
nearing
Han Solo movies, and I'll let you just do the whole list here. But
Gotcha.
yeah,
No,
I think we did a good job. I think we've got a good list here. I think at least the top 6 of it, everybody can feel comfortable of. It's the bottom 6 that they could go any direction there.
Yeah,
But those top ones, I think everybody's going to agree should be in the top. So
Yeah.
good job, kudos to you.
Yeah, I think
You
this
held-
was
you held this
pretty
whole thing
successful and
together.
pretty fun. I pissed you off a few on a couple of those that you just were
Well, the look on
your
your face on a couple of mine, I think was priceless. So we'll do more of these. We will have more fabulous rankings like this. So look forward to those.
Yeah, and if you have any
how
ideas,
upset
too.
I can make Peter with my choices.
And if you have any ideas of what you think would be a good list to do that maybe we would know about, leave that in the comments, and maybe we can put together one of those lists ourselves, and that'll be one of the future podcasts. We have Marvel is one that we have talked about before doing, and we did a practice run of that one. But I think some of this stuff is going to have to be more of like 90s, 2000s, early 2000s nostalgia trips because that's what I know. Otherwise it's going to be like a whole bunch of like, hey, what have you watched lately? I'm like Blue's Clues. You
don't want to do
With my
rankings
kids.
of 1930s romantic comedies.
No, I don't think I
Okay.
could give you one of those.
Best
at all.
movie of the 30s. Go.
Oh man, I mean, we could. What would be a good one is to rank some heist movies. I think that'd be pretty good.
One thing, though, when we do these rankings, and yes, we're going on and talking about more stuff, we might have to cut this out later. We have to have a pool, a predetermined pool of what we're pulling from, so that we know one of these movies has to be the bottom and one has to be the top. So we're not just pulling out of infinity random things from anywhere.
Yeah.
Like if you say heist movies and we don't determine the list of heist movies ahead of time,
Oh yeah, no,
suddenly
it's totally going to be.
you're pulling something out that I didn't even think of from the beginning. So
Yeah.
look for more wonderful things to come. If you somehow stumbled upon this and listened to this, we thank you and hope that you don't hate us for wasting however many minutes of your life this was.
About an hour and a half.
But-
That's all. Almost 90.
Oh, all right. Well, we'll have to trim that down too. All right. So let's wrap this up and say thank you for coming in.
Yeah, I
and
appreciate
thank you
it,
for
guys.
listening.
Yeah. I hope you had
And-
fun.
I hope you enjoyed our list.
I definitely had fun. So.
Exit music. Boop, 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 do, 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 do.
All right, I'm stopping the recording.